Have you ever really stopped to think about how our words are actually built? Well, it turns out there's this hidden system, kind of like a secret code, that constructs every single word we use. Today, we're going to crack that code. We are talking all about morphology. So let's start with the word we all know, unhappiness. Seems pretty simple, right? But locked inside this one word is a surprising amount of structure. See, the secret is that your brain doesn't just see this as one solid block. You instinctively know it's built from smaller pieces of meaning. But how? How does that work? That's the big question we're going to answer. To crack this code, we've got a 5-step plan. First, we'll uncover the secret that's hiding in plain sight. Then, we'll meet the atom of language. It's called the morpheme. After that, we'll learn how to sort these little atoms into 2 main types, explore the 2 special jobs some of them have, and finally, we'll see what happens when our ears get tricked by sounds that seem the same but aren't. All right, let's get our hands dirty. To really understand what's happening inside a word like unhappiness, we need to zoom way in on the fundamental unit of meaning in all of language. And here it is, the morpheme. This is the absolute smallest piece of language that carries any meaning. You can think of it as an atom of meaning, or like a single Lego block that you just can't break down any further. We use these to build every single word. So how do you spot a morpheme out in the wild? Well, there are 3 simple checks you can do. First, it has to actually mean something. Second, you can't divide it into even smaller, meaningful parts. And third, it has to show up consistently in other words with that same stable meaning. Let's take the word teachers for a spin. Using those rules, we can see it's not one single chunk of meaning. Nope, it's 3 morphemes all working together. Teach gives us the core action. Tells us it's a person who does that thing. And the S lets us know there's more than one. See? Pretty simple, right? Okay, so here's the crucial point. Not all these building blocks are created equal. They actually behave in very different ways, which means we need to start sorting them. We can pretty much put all morphemes into 2 main bins. On one side, we've got free morphemes. These are the ones that can be words all by themselves. On the other side, we have bound morphemes, which are a bit clingy. They have to be attached to another morpheme to do their job. It's actually pretty intuitive when you think about it. Words like book, run, or happy are totally fine on their own. They're free. But little pieces like the prefix un or the suffix nis are bound. They need a word like happy to stick to. But we can get even more specific. Let's zoom in on those clingy bound morphemes. It turns out they aren't all the same either. They have 2 very distinct, very special jobs they can perform. Some are what we call derivational. Their job is to derive a totally new word, and they often change its part of speech. The others are inflectional. Their job is purely grammatical. They just adjust a word for things like tense or how many there are. Okay, let's watch a derivational morpheme in action. We'll start with our free morpheme, happy, which, as you know, is an adjective. Now we attach the bound derivational suffix, ness, and boom. Just like that, we haven't just modified happy, we've created a completely new word, happiness, and we changed its category from an adjective to a noun. That is the power of derivation. Okay, now for the inflectional morphemes. And this is where things get really cool, because this brilliantly illustrates just how incredibly efficient English grammar can be. This shows every single inflectional morpheme in the entire language. That's it, just 8. And this is what is so remarkable. I mean, for a language as huge and complex as English, every single grammatical tweak, we're talking plurals, past tense, making comparisons, you name it, is handled by this tiny, exclusive club of just 8 suffixes. It's an incredibly elegant and efficient system. Okay, we've covered a lot of ground. For our last section, we're going to look at where things can get a little tricky. This is where language sometimes plays tricks on our ears, with these building blocks that sound alike but have very different jobs. First up, let's talk about allomorphs. You can think of these as a single morpheme that just likes to wear different costumes. It's the exact same morpheme with the exact same meaning, but it changes how it's pronounced just to better fit the sounds around it. The plural S is the classic example. Just listen. Notice how it sounds like an S in cats, a Z in dogs, and an is in horses. 3 totally different sounds,
but they're all just allomorphs of the exact same morpheme that means more than one.
And then we have the exact opposite situation, homophonous morphemes. These are completely different morphemes with different jobs that just happen to sound exactly the same.
The suffix er is a perfect case. In the word teacher, it's a derivational morpheme, meaning a person who does something. But in the word taller, it's an inflectional morpheme that just means more. Same sound, completely different jobs. So here's the really simple way to remember the difference. With allomorphs, the meaning is the same, but the sound is different. With homophonous morphemes, the sound is the same, but the meaning is different. They're perfect opposites. And that brings us right back to the core idea. Once you understand these fundamental building blocks, you really start to see the elegant, systematic structure that's hidden inside every single word we use. You know, learning this code doesn't just teach you about words, it fundamentally changes how you see language itself. You can now read the blueprint. So the question is, what words are you going to start deconstructing first?